Hi there and welcome. This presentation is to demonstrate what work attire is in different spaces. And throughout this presentation, you're going to be shown a great sample of different environments, including formal and traditional interviews, business casual, creative spaces, tech spaces, and then regional varieties, including California casual. So the first one is your traditional interview and traditional fields such as banking, finance. But in a traditional interview, this is the uniform. It's a dark color matching suit. If you're presenting female, you have the option to wear a skirt or pants. Gentlemen, if you are presenting male, it's the matching suit. Jacket and pants always match. Belt and shoes always match, as well as accessories if you are carrying a portfolio. Closed-toed shoes are always part of the uniform for traditional interviews. And it's always better to dress up than it is to dress down for an interview. Okay, getting into business casual, if you are presenting female, jackets and blazers are still great. All colors are wonderful, but you can see the blazer doesn't have to match what you're wearing on the bottom. And that's business casual. But as you can see, still very polished and coordinated, looks great together. Closed-toed shoes are still kind of the thing, except this is where you can bring in seasonal varieties. If it's summer, spring, open toe and sandals are great. Winter, probably boots. And all colors look great with business casual. And if you're presenting male, jackets don't match the pants, same rule, but they are coordinated, collared shirts, but no ties. And that's kind of the rule. If there's no tie, that's business casual. You can still wear a suit, but if you have no tie on, that's business casual. Once you add that tie, it's now more formal. Footwear matches your belt, as well as not necessarily the portfolio because it's business casual, but still coordinated and put together. Creative spaces. So creative spaces are, so these are the industries such as the arts, advertising agencies, marketing firms, and kind of if you're looking for an example, think Emily in Paris, and that's the first picture on the left. Very creative, very brings out the personality of the individual, but it's still polished and coordinated. All colors are brought into the creative spaces because colors are part of your aura, it's part of who you are, and so you really want to bring your personality into your wardrobe, and it's perfectly fine in creative spaces. Your shoes do coordinate with the outfit, but yeah, let your personality shine. Okay, tech fields. So working in a tech industry, it's still comfortable and casual. T-shirts are more part of the uniform with maybe an overshirt or an over jacket. But the key here is you're ready for anything. You could be, in 1 hour going to a meeting with a client. The next hour you're working with a team on solving a problem. And so it's really the rule is dress for the day. California casual. So being a California native myself, I totally get this, but working in career services, I have to be able to, say, okay, it needs to be more formal today because we're setting an example. But California casual is great. You see a lot of denim here. Denim is just part of the wardrobe with California casual, but it does vary by industry. You saw it with tech, you saw it with business casual, and you just have to know the industry that you're working with to know if this is an acceptable work uniform for the day. Sneakers, boots, and sandals are all great. It really depends on the season, but the goal is comfort and style. But what's nice about California casual is you can go from the workplace to hanging out with friends and not really have to change your wardrobe because you still look put together and nice. Regional varieties. So in addition to California casual, which is probably the most casual of them, but there are some regional varieties. And what you're seeing here from left to right is the New York uniform. And if you ever travel to the East Coast, when you see people walking around the streets, they're definitely dressed kind of they're dressed in what you see here. Very put together, usually a suit because that's just the nature of that region. Then we kind of have the New England preppy look, which is still great, still put together. Then we've got Western wear, which kind of in the Midwest, and not everybody does this. You dress how you want, but if you have an interest and this is part of your vibe, this is still very work attire professional. And then we've got the Pacific Northwest, which some people might call this the lumberjack look. I don't have a problem with that, but I think it looks great. It looks very comfortable, regardless of what industry you're in, because it's always cold and rainy up in the Pacific Northwest. And so you've got jeans, boots, undershirt, and then a nice flannel coat for warmth. And then we have kind of the Southern preppy look, which is very similar to the New England preppy. But we've got some nautical stripes there with a blazer and matching shoes. And then we have the kind of the South Beach look, which is Florida and maybe some of the Carolinas because it's hot in the summer, but short sleeve collared shirts with slacks and some nice shoes. And then just to kind of wrap this up, so the interview is always that point of entry for getting to know a company that you want to dress your best. You're always wanting to put your best foot forward, show your best self, and that means dressing to impress. And it could be that formal suit that you saw on the first day. If it's a more relaxed environment, maybe it's business casual. But that interview is where you are doing your best to have a very polished look. And then your first day, it can be a little bit more casual because at this point you've probably done your research to know what the company is like. But it's after that first day where you really get to understand the office culture and you see how other people dress, how they're engaging, and you take those observations and now you incorporate that into your own wardrobe and how you're dressing for your own place of employment. But the key is be comfortable, be you, be yourself. There's nothing wrong with bringing in your personality to your work attire because it's you. You spend a lot of time at work and you want to be able to kind of shine and show off your personality. So it's always great to accessorize, which I love to do. And so on our Pinterest page, and there's a QR code there if you would like to visit our Pinterest page and subscribe, but there's tips on how to tie a necktie, how to match your shoes with your pants. There's coordinated outfits. There's tips for what is business casual, what is formal interview attire, what are some gender nonconforming work attire that I can kind of see, because we want everybody to be comfortable in the workplace. And so there's tips for everybody, and ultimately you are you. You get to pick what you want to wear to work, but this is just a resource to help you feel more comfortable. And finally, here are some other QR codes to follow us on social media. I hope you found this helpful, and please reach out to Berkeley Career Engagement if you have any questions, and you can always meet with a career educator. Thank you.